In the beginning, I was like, this is a movie about, Demi's one of our main characters, a Disney star. This is a movie going on Hulu. So like, how is there not a conflict of interest here of like, we're going to be, talking about and exposing things about, Disney, and Disney's going to put it on their platform. Like how, and I think that, to Hulu's credit, like they really gave us the freedom to just kind of put in there what we wanted, and it wasn't like, oh no, you can't say that because of whatever reason. So it was nice. It felt like we were making a real story and talking about real issues. My name's Danny Grunes. I am a DP and I'm based out of Los Angeles. I do documentaries, feature films, short films, commercials. I really am more just interested in telling a story and being challenged and working with creative people and getting to collaborate. So the reason I'm here today is I'm talking about Child Star, which is a documentary that we made last year and now is on Hulu. Child Star, it was directed by Demi Lovato and Nicola Marsh. We follow Demi's story as a former child star, and obviously everyone knows who Demi is. And she gets to sit down and talk with a bunch of former child stars and also just explore what it means to be a child in the entertainment industry. And the film also touches on kind of where we're at presently with social media and TikTok and Instagram and all these kids who are currently being profited off of basically for their likeness. And there's really no rules or regulations around it. And so it kind of looks in the past of like how we got here and starts to look into the future of like, where are we going with this? So how it got started, I only really know through hearing Demi talk about it, which I think is something like she knew she wanted to make a project about this topic, and then at some point in the process decided she wanted to be the one to direct it. She's never directed anything before, so she wanted to bring in someone to co-direct with her who has that experience. And that's where Nicola Marsh came in. And Nicola is who I knew before the project started. So Nicola and I go way, way back. We're really close friends. And Nicola is a former DP. So I first was working with Nicola as an operator for her, or I would cover for her as a DP on projects that she was shooting. And we just have a great shorthand. When the project came up, Nicola called me, asked me if I wanted to do it. I mean, it was a no-brainer. I will do anything with Nicola. She's one of my favorite people in the whole world. It was very easy to have conversations with her about the technical side and the look and the feel of the film. And she obviously had a lot of opinions coming in as well. We just got together and we discussed kind of the breakdown of like, what does this film look like? What are the different components? We knew we were going to have these verite scenes with Demi. We knew we were going to have these sit downs with former child stars, some expert interviews, some recreation, so we formulated a visual language for the film. Yeah, we also had our colorist at Apache build a LUT for the film. And so we were able to test out a few LUTs in a test shoot before we ever started, so that, on set, we were even just seeing kind of a finished version of what it might look like, which was really helpful. I mean, there's obviously been a lot of documentaries made about Demi that touch on different things of her life, but I think this was the first time she really dove into her origin of like how this all came to be and also how to protect future generations. I think it was important for us to have this feel organic and lived in, and not too contrived. If you have people sitting in a chair and answering questions, it feels not fake, but it just doesn't feel genuine sometimes. That's kind of the fun of documentary, is being a fly on the wall. But with this, we were also trying to figure out how can we still make it look cinematic? How can I try to plan for things that I think might happen, while also you don't want to ever stop people from talking or slow the conversation down. And so for most of the verite or for all the verite and all of the sit downs with celebrities, we wanted to be handheld for that. So we had our operators, usually on easy rigs or butt dollies for these long takes, because sometimes an interview would be 2 to 3 hours long, and we didn't want to stop the flow. That was important to us, is keeping things handheld, keeping things loose. You'll even see in the film they kept some of these things that usually would be edited out, like an operator refinding a frame or finding focus or whatever it is, because it was important it just helped make everything feel genuine and real, which it was. We originally started the project shooting on the Alexa Mini LF, and the reason for that was, in full transparency, was that the company we were filming for owned the cameras and they wanted us to use them. I think originally I was pushing for an Alexa 35, because we were shooting on the Atlas Orions, and they're better for a Super 35 coverage versus full frame coverage, even though I know they can technically cover that. But because we were shooting at a 2:1 aspect ratio, we just didn't want a lot of vignetting. And so we shot on the LFs. And then for some of the shoots where we would go out of state, like we went to New York and to Texas and to Oregon, we were able to rent Alexa 35s for those portions. So it's kind of a mix between the LF Mini and the Alexa 35. I mean, anamorphic is cinema. You know, you put an anamorphic lens on a camera and it instantly makes you feel like you're watching like a Spielberg or a Zemeckis film, you know, just the classic look of a film. And that's not to say, obviously, that a spherical lens can't do that, but we knew that there was a lot of things we couldn't control with the documentary, right? Like I was saying, you have to kind of go with what's happening, and you can't plan too much. You have to kind of be flexible. So shooting on anamorphic at least gave us something that we knew it was going to be looking cinematic while in a documentary world. So we picked the Orions. Nicola actually had just bought a set. I had already used them on a few short films of mine, and I really was impressed by them. And so when she told me that she had bought a set and she was wondering what I thought about using them on the film, I was like, seems like a no-brainer. She had the 6 lens set, so I think we had from the 32 up to the 100. And we did some tests on them. And we did use expanders because for a lot of it we were shooting on a mini LF, but that was fine because usually the lenses are so fast anyways that the small light loss you get from the expander wasn't an issue. We just really liked the look of them. They deliver a really nice, clean, anamorphic look. And, you know, the fact that she owned them was great because, you know, the shoot took over a year, and sometimes, you know, we're having to re-rent camera packages over and over and over, and so just be able to have those every time was really great. So that was the one thing that stayed consistent. You know, we flew with her set of lenses wherever we went. When we're in a documentary setting, changing lenses is sometimes not an option. When I was picking lenses to use, I was usually gravitating towards the 65. That I found was wide enough that I could set a scene, you know, and sometimes I would switch over to a 50 or even a 40 to like establish where we were. But usually it was the 65 and the 80. We had 2 cameras running mostly all the time. And for the sit down interviews with celebrities, I want to say we were mostly on the tighter end. So probably like one camera was on an 80, one camera might have been on 100 even, plus the expanders. So that might have taken us even tighter than that. And that was just so all the cameras, both the cameras could kind of shoot overs without seeing each other. So we began filming towards the beginning or first quarter of 2023, and we started in Los Angeles, and I would say 85% of our shoots were in Los Angeles. Shoots would kind of come up as interviews would get scheduled and people's calendars and everything worked together. And so, you know, we'd shoot for a couple days here, take a week off, shoot a day here, take a couple weeks off, you know. And I think overall our last day of shooting might have been, I think my last day of shooting was in Nashville. I went out there to film Demi write and record the song that is in the film, that plays at the end of the film. And I think I did that maybe in April of 2024. So just over a year, I'd say the whole thing took. Somehow I was able to shoot every single day of this project. Usually with a documentary, you're always swapping yourselves out for other people because, again, like schedules are so unpredictable. And it worked out somehow that I was able to film on every single day of this project, which was really nice. So our crew stayed pretty nimble the whole time. I'd say our biggest days were the sit downs with different celebrities. And on those days, I would have another operator. We would each have an AC. I would have probably a 3 or 4 man G&E team and a sound person. I mean, and then whatever the producers and if they had a couple PAs. But, you know, we were operating out of like a Sprinter van. It was a small, we were trying to stay as small as possible. And on other days, it was even smaller than that. It might have just been, you know, 2 cameras, 2 ACs, and 1 person to help me set up some lights. I could control more of the sit downs because I knew where they were going to be and I knew they weren't going to be moving around. For most of the sit down interviews, the lighting was fairly straightforward. You know, it was just picking a nice location and giving some cross keys, like just crossing in some key lights and balancing everything so that it was pleasing to the eye and, you know, keeping a little bit of contrast. And again, having that LUT that we had already pre-built for the project really helped. So you weren't just looking at Rec 709. And for the verite stuff, again, it was trying to talk with Nicola of like, what might happen at this location? Like, what do we think is going to happen? So I could place a few lights, if any, into certain areas that I know maybe we'll travel through this, or we'll land in this certain spot, and it would just be nice to help Demi out. Or, you know, that's the thing is it's a documentary, but we're also working with celebrities who all really want to look good on screen, and that's important. So luckily the production was accommodating and understanding that, you know, it's not like we can just go into this building and start shooting and not have, you know, thought about where am I going to have some lights or what's the lighting going to be like. So there was a lot of help from the whole team to make sure that that was accomplished. And then there's some recreation stuff that we did that really only shows up at the beginning of the film, but that was kind of fun because Nicola and I wanted that. You know, we kept referencing like, we want this to feel like a Spielberg film, you know, we want the lighting to feel just magical, and this is all the young Demi stuff in the beginning with the zoetrope spinning and this little girl walking through. And so with that was more of a traditional like narrative shoot day, you know, where we were shooting each shot. It was very specific. I got to light each shot, which was nice. Yeah, and then for the expert interviews, those were all just meant to be fairly neutral. If you noticed, all those backgrounds weren't colorful. They were just, I think the original concept was almost like white abstract. And as we started to do them, it was becoming pretty difficult on the budget to find backgrounds and locations that felt super abstract. So we just ended up kind of leaning into neutral backgrounds, just nice soft lighting, you know, nothing that's like taking your attention away from it. It's not meant to be an interview, you know, that's on like a super wide angle lens or like center framed or, you know, all this kind of stuff that it just was meant to deliver the information. The first sit down interview we did was with Raven. So that was like our first introduction to how are these gonna go? You know, how do the cameras move? How does all, and I remember I used a specific light, which I like using on a lot of my sets, but I used them for the cross keys. I won't name them. But, you know, a lot of times you light a scene and then at the very last second you find out, oh, this person's gonna sit down and they're gonna wear glasses or they're gonna wear reflective glasses, and of course, you know, you didn't know that, or no one told you that, or you didn't plan for them, and you never know what kind of glasses they're going to be, you know. And I remember Raven's glasses, for whatever reason, the way they were built, were just reflecting like at a obscene angle, where like no matter where I put this key light, you were going to see them. And this key light has a very specific look to it in the reflection, and so you'll definitely notice in the film. And so I stopped using that light for that reason, because I just got burned on it. I don't know what my mistakes were. I mean, we didn't have this shoot went quite smooth from my standpoint. Like it was a really great shoot to work on. It was really fun every day. The crew was great. Everyone showed up and kind of delivered as promised. I mean, I've made mistakes on sets for sure, but on this set, I don't know. You know, there was no like stories of like, oh, we weren't rolling, or like, oh, a card got deleted, or oh shoot, I thought she was going to come in this door and she ended up I'm sure there were mistakes, and I'm sure on the day I probably could have told you what those were, but now, like, being so far removed from it, you know, several months in the future, there wasn't anything that stuck with me where it's like still eating at me, you know? You know, I'm most proud of, I wasn't sure what the final version of this film was going to be, you know, because as a DP, it's like once you're done with it, so much can change in the edit and the messaging of the film and all that. And I was really happy with the final version of how this all turned out. And not only that, it's actually been an agent for change. Since the film came out, there was a bill on Gavin Newsom's desk that was helping build protections for I think the money around families or children making off of social media and stuff like that. That's awesome. I mean, if a documentary can make change like that, like that's what it was all for. It wasn't just, you know, a puff piece, or like it wasn't just, you know, just for entertainment. It was also making a difference. So I'm proud that I got to be a part of that. Oh, I guess it was cool to also be on set with these people who, you know, I was born in the 80s. Kenan Thompson, Raven-Symoné, Drew Barrymore, you know, Christina Ricci. Like, I grew up watching all these people on television and in movies. So, you know, it's a fun part of the job to also be on set with these people and I think everyone, you eventually always start working with people that you've only seen on your TV screen or in the movies, and it's a weird experience at first, and as it happens more and more, it becomes just normal. I'm not saying like all these people were this person for me, but it's always fun when you get on set with a person who you kind of are starstruck, even though you're supposed to be a professional. You're like, wow, it brings back so many memories of my childhood, or where I was or what I was doing when I was, when you were doing this job as a child actor. What I love about this job is I feel like I'm always learning. Like, I think if I ever get to a day where I feel like I've like solved cinematography, A, that won't happen, and B, I probably shouldn't be doing the job anymore. Yeah, I took a lot away from the project. Documentaries really keep you on your toes, like I was saying, and they teach you how to kind of think quickly and problem solve quickly and anticipate a lot of things that can go wrong, because you only, again, have one shot at it, and there's no take two usually. I love Nicola Marsh. She's like been such a huge supporter of mine as a cinematographer, which is so great when she also is a cinematographer or started as a cinematographer. I feel like a lot of times there's this like natural competition between DPs in our industry. But I think as you grow and as you get a little older, you realize that other DPs are your allies, and they're actually the ones usually helping you get the most work, because any work I can't take, I'm gonna give off to someone who I really enjoy and respect. And so, Nicola trusted me to bring me onto the project, and she's always trusted me. I just think she's wonderful director, and I'm really excited to see what else she does, and also what else Demi does. I'm not sure if I feel like Demi said she's not sure if she wants to, keep directing or if this was a one-off, but it was also really fun to get to work with Demi as a first-time director. I mean, you're on set for 12 hours a day, 60 hours a week sometimes, so I think as I've grown in this industry, it's just been almost imperative that I'm working with people I like, because I can't spend time with people I don't like for that long. Probably my favorite part of the creative process is being on set. I mean, there's a lot of fun in the prep work, and getting to imagine all these ideas and talk about them and plan out how they're going to go. Planning is obviously very important to have a successful shoot day, but I think nothing beats the kind of natural high of like knowing you only have 10 or 12 hours to get this thing, and everyone has to kind of be on their A game. And I'm always working, shooting, promos and commercials. That's kind of like my bread and butter. I would call that like more of my day job, if you will. But always looking for the next project. I potentially have a feature going at the beginning of next year. Yeah, we're in a weird time in this industry, so I can't count on anything really. I'm just thinking about tomorrow. I have a scout today, so that's what's next to my future.
Amazing.
And then after that, I'm probably unemployed again.
Well,
Yeah, you can't, if you don't say yes to the opportunities, you'll never know. Everything is like on the table, so I don't really count on anything until it's happening. But I'm available and interested and willing to travel.